Yeah. So I'm one of those process type people, and I can tell you that even though I have this idea of what could happen tonight, I really don't know what is going to happen specifically, but I do trust the process. I have a strong sort of vision of what will come out of it. The idea behind tonight's experiential activity is for us to look at the X and Y type of leadership or management. So I'm hoping that as we go through this process, you'll be able to compare McGregor's theory of X and Y, particularly the Y, to what we've been learning from Draft, his leadership principles, as well as B and D, the frames. So this activity is, I'm going to start it off by showing you a group that I hope you'll emulate by the end of the activity. It's a group of young guys that I met when I was in Africa this summer. Remember we were talking about what our analogy for leadership was, or is? So if we use the drum circle as represented in that clip as a metaphor for leadership, what elements of leadership or what ideas of leadership do you think were depicted in that?
And it's remarkable to watch that because everybody's in sync with one another. Even watching the dance, you can see how it all kind of fit together. And so if I was a musician and I wasn't particularly good at dancing, that helped me visually to kind of fit in there. So
it's going to go well. You want them sort of all lockstep, all following the same path, and have following the same beat, the same rhythm for the desired outcome. So they all work together.
It works so well that the leader can step out of the leadership role, the first person, and two other people came up to the front and led the piece. So if your organization's working well enough from your leadership, then anybody can step in if you're not there.
So now what I would like to do is have us try to do what they did. So there's some instruments in the back, so you can pick whatever you want. Just go ahead and it's just, you pick whatever you want. I hope I have enough, right? I think I do. Yeah, okay, and once you grab an instrument, I'm going to ask you to try to group yourselves together with the same type of instrument that you have, or the same. So, like the drums over here, the shakers, come on up. The movers, shakers, come on here. I think with this group, I think within 5 to 7 minutes, we'll have it mastered. Mastered. All right. So we're going to start off with the drums. If you guys can be patient for a second. Okay, you guys on the congas, you can just go. give you a break. It's a call and response. So it starts off. Then you go da 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 da, and then we do it together.
Verbally or with our instrument?
With your instrument. And then we do it together. Da 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 da, and then we go da 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 da. Watch. So. One more time. And then we do it together. So it's call, response together. Alright, and then the end is, then we do this together too. So let's try the whole thing. And then we come in with the rhythm. And we come, remember your rhythm? Now we come in with the rhythm. All right, ready?
If somebody was out of sync, you knew it.
Right, yeah, that's true, that's true. And it's funny what you all just said, made me think about even within a subgroup, a leader will be there that other people will follow, and sometimes the person doesn't know they're being followed until the people behind them say, oh yeah, we were following you. So there are times when leadership kind of rises up from within another group.
I thought it was like a personal dominance. He was leading the group. He had personal dominance. All following what he was doing. Even though we're kind of our little groups, we're looking at each other, but we were
I really
mainly focused
depended on
him.
him.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
His personal dominance came from his expertise, though.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there wasn't anybody in the room that didn't know that he was the expert.
The challenge, that was the two. It's not natural for any of us. We had to adapt and overcome with our wonderful leader.
Yes.
Who set the direction.
Yes.
Yeah, she had the pressure.
And we were
on
in
her.
that structural frame. Yeah, each one of us had a defined role.
Well, you two were the only two that had one type of instrument. I mean,
Well, there was more, but nobody grabbed it. She was the only one brave enough.
That was hard. Yeah, that was hard.
She was the only one brave enough to grab one of those.
Not quite. I was in band in high school, but not a leadership class. Not a leadership class. No, it was enlightening, refreshing.
I saw you twirling that baton.
I used to do my drumsticks like that.
Can you elaborate on that for us?
I would think it was a challenge for all of us, as we hadn't had any experience with these instruments, and so all of us had to follow kind of your example, which setting direction, I think was a main focus there for leadership principle, which you did, and then that allowed us to face this challenge and kind of keep up with you.
So can you relate that to your role as a leader?
Specifically to those two principles, I mean, that's what I'm always trying to do is setting direction and understanding that the people that I'm providing direction to, it might be a challenge for them to adapt to whatever it is that I'm asking. And it helps if I can maybe, set the course and show them how to do some of the things that I'm asking. And model maybe the role that I'm expecting from them. So it probably helps if I can best understand what it is before I, set the course for them.
And I agree with what Seth was saying. One thing, Ron, that you did, you told us what we were to do, our beat, and if we didn't quite get it right, you took the time to work with them, because everybody's not going to get it the first time. So, and you showed the necessary patience to work with, and even show me that this is not the right end, but this is. So,
if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, whatever my role happens to be, leadership or within this, keeping my particular beat, the second I started focusing on what other people doing and not what I was supposed to do, suddenly my hands were a little bit off. My direction wasn't quite as set as it used to be before. Yeah, suddenly my hands were doing what she was doing, and it just wasn't right. So in leadership concept, it's sort of the phrase we hear so often is the main thing, the main thing. Knowing what I'm supposed to be doing and focus on doing that correctly.
So our group, kind of like being the structural frame, you had to have that basis that you had everything else on top.
Yeah. The foundation, we call it the foundation.
If you look at this exercise as a metaphor for making change within your organization, you're probably not going to try and get everyone on board at the same time, because it may result in less than desired results. So you went from one pocket of group members to another, to have complete buy-in in a perfect collegial environment that was focused toward your main goal.
Facing this adaptive challenge, you were able to respond and play your roles eloquently within 10 minutes. Like, we could go on the road with that.
One group had distinct different instruments. We started here at the base and then added to it, but when one section dropped out, there was a significant notice in the overall picture. So if you roll that back to a leadership structure, that if one group kind of fades out, then it's very evident within the overall sound or the overall image of the group. So it could be just one piece of that group fades away or gets lost in a different direction, or fades out. The whole group can kind of pull together and see, get them back on track. But it's very noticeable when a member of that group is not in line.
But also the contribution affected the whole image.
So before we end, can we hear from
the maracas?
We found an informal leader kind of emerged that when we didn't even realize it, but when we all kind of stopped, Angie and I were both like, well, were you looking at Shania?
Yes,
I was just trying to looked like she knew what she was doing, so we were trying to keep the beat with her. So she didn't even know she was the leader, but did a good job anyways of leading the groups. It's, sometimes that happens within your sub-teams, a leader emerges whether you know it or not.